This is why I would not move nonstop or coach my athletes to move nonstop, whether they're on bottom or on their feet. It's simply difficult to maintain your athleticism when you're moving nonstop. Sure, you might want to point out one freak, maybe John Smith, that can move nonstop, but watch even Jordan Burroughs, Kyle Schneider, watch the Olympic champs of our era right now. Watch the college All-Americans. Those guys are probably top 50 in the world, every one of those guys. They don't move nonstop. When I was in college years ago, I heard Kenny Monday, he always coached the upper weight guys, and he was telling them to slow down and wrestle in sprints. And it really didn't make sense to me at the time. I wasn't very smart. I didn't go like, I should have jumped on his back and said, explain this to me, because you know how it is when you're a kid, you're just stupid. You just listen to stuff and say, oh, that's kind of good. Then you walk away. But now as you're older, I'm older, I look back and I go, that was phenomenal advice that I didn't take it. It really wasn't directed towards me. But I do now, as an observer, I do notice that athletes hold position on bottom and they wrestle in sprints or flurries, just like a boxer fights in flurries or sprints. Same way on your feet. Plus, when you're on your feet, you're on offense and defense at the same time. Sometimes kids have poor stances because they're moving so much, they're not disciplined enough to maintain it. So we preach to our athletes, our wrestling academy kids and campers, to wrestle slow, smart, patient, and wrestle in flurries of action and activity. And that seems to really help, because our goal is our goal is to have the best wrestling stance in America. We've said it 10,000 times a year. That's one of our number one goals, is to have the best stance in America, and for people all over the nation to talk about us, about how amazing our positioning is. Whether we're on our stance on top with our leg riding, on bottom with our power position, or maybe our stance when I'm in on a leg attack and someone sprawls on my back. We want to turn sideways to our opponent with a deep right knee and a deep right shoulder. Right-handed wrestlers, wrinkles in the back of your neck, right? You have a power position, or you could say a stance, when I'm in a front headlock, which is not where I want to be, but it happens sometimes. When I'm pinning somebody, when I have a front headlock, when someone's in on my legs, feet wide, chest tight, knees off the mat, arch till it hurts, push and slide when needed. Those of you who study our online academy, you know all those steps and power position tactics and talking points. On our feet, obviously, we have a squared stance and a staggered stance. Your staggered stance is for shooting. You should be in your squared stance maybe 2% of the match. That's only for circling. A snake is dangerous when he's coiled up. If he's not coiled up, he's not dangerous. A wrestler is not dangerous unless he's coiled up. Think about a track runner. We're sort of down at that stance, but not as low. We are that low when we level change, right? Feet, left legs back, bend at the waist. Don't let your opponent read your shirt. We roll our eyeballs in the back of our head and stare at our opponent through our eyebrows. Keep our right pec over our right knee, 60% of the weight on your front foot, right? And so there's some talking points there that should make sense to most of you who have experience. As far as your stance, once you're in a stance, you have to stay there, right? Especially on your feet, it's so easy to get out of position. Our rule is, from a hand fighting standpoint, break your opponent's stance, improve yours. We have 7 ways to break our opponent's stance: push, pull, hit, pick, post, pass, and fake, right? And if we put 2 to 3 of those setups together, we call that dynamic wrestling, dynamic setups, dynamic drilling. We're doing that right now at our Dream Season camp, right? We don't do that at our lower tier camps. But our 14-day camp and our 28-day campers, they do that. You collar tie me, I might fake, elbow, pass, and push. So I just did 3 setups of the 7 I listed earlier. That's pretty dynamic. So how do you move like that and maintain position? Well, you have to drill very slow motions so that it clicks. Just like writing your name the first time, you have to do slow motion, right? The first time you swing a golf club, if you just try to crush a ball, you're not going to do very well. You want to hold position before, during, and after the swing, and then it will speed up on its own. Your wrestling will speed up on its own because we're naturally, instinctively sort of engineered towards doing better, faster, harder, and becoming more successful and scoring more takedowns. So I would definitely not preach wrestling and moving non-stop. I would encourage you to hold position and wrestle in sprints or flurries of action. And there's my take. You don't have to agree with me. That's fine. We've had some pretty good success with our academy the past 20 years, so we're not going to change a thing. But I do think that if you don't believe me, you can watch the college guys and see. You're going to see they don't move non-stop on their feet or on bottom. Even on defense, right? They don't move non-stop. The wrestling and sprints thing seems to be more of the norm. So I would encourage you to do that, and it's going to help your kids to not get scored on as well. As we like to say, I would rather score 5 points or 5 takedowns in practice today and give up 0 than score 20 takedowns in practice and give up 15. It's still a 5 takedown margin, but one wrestler's on his way. The other wrestler, he might be the state champ in the semis and lose to a JV kid in the finals because his wrestling or her wrestling is just not where it needs to be. And you say, well, wouldn't you rather get 20 takedowns and give up 0? Yes, but we're not, you know, if these All-Americans and NCAA champions and Olympians can have close matches, I'm going to give myself permission to have a few close matches every year too. So if I'm only 5 takedowns better than you, the first scenario is better wrestling than the second. Good luck to everyone, and have a great postseason of training.